I guess we'll get to edit this part.
Or not, because beginnings are beginnings are totally unrehearsed. We're here for the first time on camera.
On camera, this is a completely whole new thing. We've just discovered something called motion picture kind of thing. So the things actually move, and so
I think that people going to the website are going to miss the kind of slow zooms in on still images.
I think you may still get that. Actually, I may still install some of them, but first it was the talkies. Now we have a motion picture.
Yes.
So we are here for the film Autopsy, and now we can actually make actions happen.
That's right.
Autopsy of The Kids Are All Right.
The Kids Are All Right.
So Kevin, what is it about?
Well, it's about a family. It's about married life. It's about raising two teenage kids. One who's about ready to leave the nest and go on to college. The other, the younger, is the son, and he's in some way kind of finding himself, some slightly reckless behavior, a little bit of attitude. All I think pretty believable. The scenario is that the parents are both of the same sex. It's two women, and they each had a sperm applied from the same sperm donor, played by Mark Ruffalo. And so rather early on in the film, the kids, and if you've seen the trailer, you basically get the story. But rather early on, the kids contact Mark Ruffalo because they want to know, well, who's their biological dad. And I think the thing that the trailer does, it basically tells you what the film's about. But there's a complexity to the film, not on the level of Inception, but but there is a much more complexity to this film than I think the trailer leads you to believe. And I think the story unfolds in it's not formulaic. It's a little bit unpredictable. And refreshing in that way.
I think overall. I think it's in some sense it will be a forgettable film. I don't think people will really talk about this film that much.
Which film?
The Kids Are All Right.
Right.
And Inception.
Right. Write it down.
Yeah. The Kids Are All Right. But acting is very good. Acting is phenomenal. And
I would say acting makes this film.
Right. I mean, if those three main characters, Annette Bening,
Julianne
Moore, and Mark Ruffalo, I mean, they are absolutely fantastic. And the two kids, they are all right, actually.
Yeah.
And hey.
No.
I mean, the story itself is fine, it's good, but because of these characters, because the characters actually go through a transformation which we can see on the screen, I actually loved Mark Ruffalo's character. I think the way he plays it sort of like very cool, kind of sort of like, easygoing in the groove kind of a kid, kind of a guy.
Hey, I got kids.
Right,
hey.
and we don't want to give any spoilers, but I mean, but he changes. But I think those changes were wonderfully done, and Annette Bening, I think she was very.
She was
good.
my favorite in the film. I thought Annette. I mean, they were all three of them were very good, but Annette Bening plays a character that is likable, but a little irritating, and at some point in the film where there's kind of this kind of dramatic rift occurs, I side with her, but at the same time she's kind of a bitch, but uptight. She's a good person.
Uptight,
she's a very good person. Yeah.
No, I think, and so overall, I mean, I think one of the things that you may think, because it's sort of like it has lesbian themes in it, and I think this movie, one of the good things about the film is that theme doesn't really play up as much, and in fact, this movie is about marriage and about the difficulties of marriage rather than about sort of like about the aspect that those are lesbians.
I agree, and that would maybe be one of my criticisms of the film is. Okay, it's hard enough to raise kids, but the film doesn't deal at all with the added, potential stigma of being a same-sex couple raising kids. Not that it needed to be that's what the story was about, but it doesn't come into the picture at all. It's almost like the director saying, well, we're not really going to even address this issue that they're the same sex.
The fact that you have a movie in which you have a lesbian family, I think it's enough to bring that in. I think if they would have done it more, it would have been something sort of like, hammering in the head. This makes it much more natural.
Yeah.
Like, that, hey, lesbian families, that's fine. And the kids are sort of like,
Speaking of natural, can we go into a little bit of a more metaphorical or analysis of metaphor in the film and some symbolism? I thought that, and I'm thinking of two scenes here. One is, well, all the scenes at Mark Ruffalo's backyard, because Julianne Moore gets hired as a landscaper to turn his backyard into this nice, lush garden. So there's this kind of naturalistic metaphor going on there. And there's a certain spark between the two, between man and woman, even a lesbian woman, straight man. And then later in the film, Annette Bening makes this great comment at dinner about she's just sick, she's to the teeth with all this composting and organic this and local that. It's like, and how I kind of read that was like the film is, with the relationship between Mark Ruffalo and Julianne Moore, they're playing up this kind of like, the naturalism of a man and a woman finding each other attractive. And Annette Bening comes in and it's like, no, there's more than one way to skin a cat. It's like all this natural, organic stuff. Sure, that's fine, but it's not for everybody.
And she may be in favor of skinning of cats too. I mean, it's quite likely.
Well, did you see what was on her plate? It was in a restaurant.
But I think this is an interesting point, because just as you were talking about that, I was thinking, well, the birth of the kids also, it's not, the fact that it's sperm donation, and so that in itself actually is,
and she's a doctor, she's a person of science and kind of more immediate practicality,
right?
So I thought the film entertains those just as themes in general about naturalism, what's to be expected from that. Can tinkering with things still end up producing something fertile and productive, and like their family. It's a artificially created family, if you will, but that word artificial, it's a family all the same.
It's a family, and the difficulties, whether it's natural or it's unnatural, the difficulties exist, and you deal with the difficulties. It's not, the movie doesn't really take sides to a certain degree. I think it's more sort of like,
the turkey baster or the actual male part.
Right. It either way it works. So the movie, I think people should go and see it. I think with reasonable expectations. If you go in, I think it would be you would be pleased. If you go in, oh my God, this is the best thing, best movie of this year. I don't think so. It's a pretty reasonable film, very well acted. But yeah, go with reasonable expectations. You'll enjoy it.
Enjoyable, very funny. It'll get Academy Award nominations for Best Original Screenplay and Annette Bening for Best Lead Actress, which she may actually win.
And because there are 10 freaking movies for the best.
So maybe
probably this will also get it. I think they should increase that to best, in the top 20.
Top 20.
Yeah. So anyway, well, here it is, and Kevin.
Cut the autopsy off.
All right, autopsy.
What's our running time? Red button again?